2012, and excited to help you get started or get moving on your application for this summer. And then I also have Melissa, if you want to introduce yourself.
Hi, yes, I'm Melissa. I've been with CIEE since 2010, and I've been working with this team that whole time. I'm super passionate about high school students studying abroad because I studied abroad in high school, and I think it's like the best time of life to go abroad. So yeah, I'm here to help too. I'll be manning the chat while Josie presents, and good to see you all.
Yeah. And in case I only have one screen tonight, Melissa, I'm not on my dual monitor. So if there's like a question that keeps coming up frequently, just call it out and I'll go back and touch upon that again. So just super quickly, the summer of your lifetime starts with an application. So that's what we're here to help you with tonight, is through this application process. We have kind of two big deadlines. December 1st, if you're motivated, December 1st is very much still possible, I would say, to wrap everything up by then. And then you'll be in the raffle to potentially win a free flight to your program. We're going to give away one free flight this year. And if you can't get everything in by December 1, no worries. January 14th is truly your final date. I'll just run through some key scholarship eligibility super quickly, and then hit on some of the important pieces of the application that folks tend to get stuck on or just maybe need a little bit more assistance with, and leave plenty of time for you to ask any questions. So if you were just in Melissa's earlier session, you may have seen this word chart, but this was how 2021 students described their programs. You can just start to kind of think about yourself having this experience and all the independence you'll gain, the immersion, the growth, how unforgettable it is. So just to kind of get you motivated to know that the application part, while not the most fun part of the program, it's that important first step. We're here to help along the way. So we do offer $5.4 million in scholarships every single summer, unlike any other provider in the high school sphere. If you are a U.S. citizen or permanent resident and a current freshman, sophomore, or junior in high school, and you've not had a merit and financial needs scholarship before, you're eligible for this scholarship. I'll cover the tasks that you have to complete to provide that financial information, and that allows us to award your scholarship, anywhere from covering 10% of program tuition to 100% of program tuition based off of your family's finances. And then all students are welcome to apply for the merit-only scholarship that covers 10% of tuition. You can be an alumni coming back for a second year, you can be a senior, an international student. That's open to all. So what to expect on the scholarship application? You're going to have 3 short essay questions. We'll take a look at those in a minute. And 1 to 2 solid paragraphs is fine per essay. It doesn't have to be like a full 5-paragraph format essay. 1 to 2 really strong paragraphs is fine. My biggest tip is just to make sure you're reading the essay prompts carefully, because some of them ask multiple questions within the one prompt. So just make sure that your essays are addressing all components of that question. I would definitely recommend writing your essays in a Word doc or a Google Doc first, and asking another peer, a teacher, or a parent, someone just for, some feedback on a proofread. Take the time to make sure you have good spelling and grammar, and most importantly, that you're answering those questions thoroughly. You'll upload a transcript. We'll take a look at that task as well. You'll need a teacher recommendation. So that's something tomorrow you can take care of in school. Ask a teacher if they'd be willing to provide a recommendation for you. It's pretty fast for the teacher. So they'll your teachers contact information for them to actually complete your recommendation online, and it shouldn't take them more than 5 to 10 minutes. It's not a formal letter of recommendation, it's an online form, and again, the chance to write like a paragraph about you. Your parent or legal guardian will help you with signing the terms and conditions electronically. And then lastly, I'll talk about the financial supporting documents if you're applying for the Merit and Need Financial Scholarship. And then just the reminder about that January 14th deadline, the December 1 for the free flight, and then later we'll still be holding a few more application help sessions throughout the year here. So if you haven't already started an application, here's the QR code that will take you right to starting an application. And once you've opened your application, you will then add your scholarship if you're interested in applying for a scholarship. And I'll show you how to do that. So it'll all be within one account. And then I just wanted to show our contact information, so you can take a screenshot of that and have that on hand, hsabroad@ciee.org and 866-583-0332. If we don't get all your questions answered tonight, or as you're working, certainly more questions will probably come up, and we're happy to help you work through those. Always happy to talk to students and parents. So I'm going to navigate over now to our website, show you a couple of resources, and then we'll really walk through the application. One second, I'm just gonna start sharing my screen. All right. So on our website, and Melissa, if you're able to pop into the chat and just share this URL, that'd be awesome. So under questions,
we still see, excuse me, Joanna, we still see the questions. There we go. Now we're on.
Do you see application support? Okay.
Yes. Yes.
Thank you. Yeah. So on our main ci.org/HSSA, that's the fastest way to get to our website. But under the questions, there's a couple of important pages that I definitely recommend you bookmark. So one being the application support page. And this really walks you through the application step by step. So for each task in your application, if you click the blue plus sign, you then get written instructions if you learn by reading. If you are more a video tutorial type of learner, there's also a quick, like 1 to 2 minute instructional video that walks you through the task. So this is definitely good to have on hand because you can come here anytime you're working on your application. And we're working on updating these as well. And then just another area that is good information for students and parents throughout the year is the FAQs. So there's a lot on the application process, but then there's also FAQs, just general information about the program. It goes into detail on, costs, what's included in tuition, what's not. That's not the focus of tonight's webinar, but I just wanted to make sure you had this link at your disposal as well. So I'm going to head over to, we have a practice application open. So this, you're not seeing a real student's information. This is Melissa and I having kind of a fake application open here for Spanish language and culture and Seville. And as I mentioned, when you first start your application, everyone will start what we call the program application. So that will just be the city and country and then the session that you're applying for. And this is the basic program information. From here, you'll be able to add on that scholarship application. If at any point in the application process, you decide that you picked the wrong program, you applied for Seville, but you decided you really want to go to Yucatan and spend the summer in Mexico, you want to explore the Mayan ruins, great, let us know. Don't start a new application. Email hsabroad@ciee.org and we can change your program application for you all the way up until that January 14th deadline. And it'll save all of your information. So if you've made good progress, or if you decide, oh, the session 1 dates for me, I'm not getting out of school until June 16th, Session 1 starts June 12th. I better switch to session 2, which starts in July. Don't start a new application. Email hsabroad@cie.org. We'll change everything over for you and you'll save all of your work. So this very first task is where you will select a scholarship if you're interested in applying. You do not need to apply for a scholarship if you don't need any financial assistance to travel on the program. You can just select, no, I want to enroll now and pay in full. Otherwise, it's going to ask you to verify those eligibility. So you'll answer, are you a US citizen or permanent resident, your grade level, and then it'll make available to you what scholarship options you have. So for example, in this one, as a US citizen who's currently a sophomore, you could apply for any of the scholarship types. Any questions so far that I should address as we're moving through?
Not yet, no.
Okay.
I've been able to keep up with the individual questions.
Okay, great, thank you. COVID-19 vaccination status. So CIEE is requiring all staff and participants to be fully vaccinated this summer. That's, our approach to running safe, healthy programs and protecting the communities that we operate in. And it's also just important to point out that a lot of other countries are very different from the US in their approach to COVID. So for example, in France, to fully participate in society, to go to restaurants, go to a shopping mall, go to the theater, you have to have a health passport on your phone. And it's an app that you have to verify with a pharmacy that shows, yes, I'm vaccinated. Or if you're not vaccinated, you have to get a negative COVID test within 48 hours of entering a restaurant, a shopping mall, a museum. So if you were an unvaccinated traveler, what that would mean for you in France in particular is that every 48 hours, you would be having to get a COVID test, pay for your own COVID tests, the logistics of that. So that also is a reason why we have this vaccination policy in place, because in a lot of countries outside of the US, there's really tight restrictions on what you can do if you aren't vaccinated. And we want to make sure that you can have a full program, you can participate in all the activities, you're not taking COVID tests every 48 hours. So it's just setting you up for the best, healthiest, most involved summer. So you'll answer that question here. If for some reason you will not be fully vaccinated, you may request a medical exemption, but that needs to be reviewed by upper level management. So we would need a couple of weeks to get an answer back to you on if an exemption would be granted by not by CIEE. And again, the other country, their host country, their requirements are going to supersede our policy. So, whatever Italy is doing at the time, requiring at the time for you to freely move about and participate, that's what we have to adhere to. So just keep that in mind. So as you complete each task, I'll complete one just as an example. One thing to just look out for is you'll do save and close, and that hasn't officially submitted your application. So once you get through all of your tasks, there kind of be this blue color as you're working on them, as you're editing. Once it's completed, it'll be white, but you could still go back and edit the tasks. And then when you're totally done, there'll be a blue button up here that says submit to CIEE. So just keep an eye out for that. Once you have your green check mark, that means your task is done. So once you have all the green check marks all the way down, you'll get a blue button up here that says submit to CIEE. So just keep that in mind. But in the meantime, you can keep coming back and editing your work. So you can see that because I said, yes, I would be fully vaccinated, you then have a few follow-up tasks. The let's get started task. Oh, did you want to jump in?
I just wanted to jump in because there have been a couple of questions about the vaccination task.
Yes.
You have to be vaccinated fully vaccinated, so have both of your vaccinations and have 2 weeks passed by the time you start the program. If you're not vaccinated now, but you get vaccinated before you start, that's fine.
Yes.
And you don't need to show the proof of vaccination to apply for the program. It will be a task that will stay in your application until you get that vaccine and can upload your card.
Yes. Yep. Yeah.
Thanks.
Thank you for clarifying. So if you know you're going to get vaccinated, you're just waiting a little bit longer for some reason, you can go ahead and say that, yes, I will be fully vaccinated. And then later this winter, once you have your proof of vaccination card that shows your 2 doses for Pfizer, Moderna, your 1 dose for Johnson & Johnson, you'll submit that here, and we'll just be looking for that before travel. But for now, just that vaccination status task is required.
Thanks.
Let's get started. Is just some basic information about you, pretty self-explanatory, but do let us know if any questions come up. You know, a home address, your birth date, etc. Just some kind of introductory information. In case of emergency is one I recommend starting early on. So this is where you'll provide your parent or legal guardian contact information. And it's really important to get your folks involved so they know what the program is. They can ask CIE questions. Whoever you list as your primary emergency contact will also receive a login, so they'll be able to go into their own MyCIE account and help you complete some of the tasks. Some tasks such as essay questions, for example, they can only view, they can't edit those tasks. We don't want parents writing essays for students, but they can view and give feedback. And then other tasks like your vaccination card when it comes time to that, or your tax forms, your parent can actually complete those tasks through their own portal. So make sure when you're starting an application, it is in the name of the student who will be traveling. Sometimes parents are eager to get going and they start the application in their name. So make sure your application is in the student's name, and then you'll have a chance to provide 2 emergency contacts. And you can. Yeah,
Sorry,
go ahead.
Joanna. I'm going to add in here that also start the application in the student's email address, not the parent's, because then when you put in the parent's email address, it's automatically going to populate the student's information if it's started with the parent's email address and the student's name. So
yeah, that's a good point. The system doesn't like if you kind of flip-flop those roles or try and use the same email twice. And if you did accidentally, start an application under a parent name or a parent email, send us an email. We can fix it on the back end so you don't have to totally start over. But we do really want the student's name and email so we can know when we're communicating with the student, and the emergency contact's name and email, so we know we're communicating with an emergency contact.
And we will send emails to both. Important information goes to all students and their emergency contacts.
Yes. Yep. Yeah, both emergency contacts, but it is only the primary emergency contact who receives that login information. There is a place where you can let us know if your parent or guardian speaks a language other than English. And we will be hosting a parent-focused webinar in December in Spanish by our Spanish speakers on the team, Katie and Karen. So if your folks are more comfortable learning in Spanish, we'll be sharing out via email those invitations to join us for the Spanish Parent Night. One task that I want you to understand your parent or guardian will not see. So your primary emergency contact, again, they'll have their account. They'll be able to see all of these tasks except for gender identity. It's important to us that we keep this information private to the students so you can disclose what you're comfortable with, and we understand, that this is a personal decision to disclose this information. So your parent or guardian will not have access to this. So you can fill this task out in confidence, and we will use the pronouns that you like to use as much as we possibly can. There are some instances where we do need the sex that's on your passport, and we'll call that out within the application. But otherwise, we want to call you by the pronouns you use day in, day out. School approval, this is just a quick reminder that check the dates. So session 1 starts early. It starts June 12th. Some schools, especially on the East Coast and in New York, are usually still in school. You might be able to talk to your teacher or advisor about making up a day or two. If you can only go for session 1, we've certainly had students do that in the past, but we encourage you to not miss any school, check those dates, and just apply for the session that's going to work best for you. Program interest and language experience. So this gives us some information about what's really motivating you. What are your goals for traveling abroad? You know, what's your top choice of the program, and why? Are you interested in learning the language? Are you primarily motivated by going to a specific city, or you're really passionate about a topic like marine science? So that's where you'll kind of fill out this information. You'll also let us know what experience you have with different languages. And specifically, we have questions around your experience with French and your experience with Spanish, because those are the only 2 programs that have a language requirement. So French and Spanish, you are required to have 1 year of language instruction to attend the French or Spanish language and culture programs. And if it's the advanced program, you need to have 2 years of high school instruction in that language or be a heritage speaker. So we'll ask for that information here. So we can know your language background, make sure you're eligible for those French and Spanish programs. All of our other programs do not have any language requirement, and they are open to total beginners. One thing we'll look at this as well, as you'll see in the scholarship application, there's a task where you provide a second or a third choice program. So for example, because this application is for Seville, if there wasn't any space available anymore on Seville, for example, but you had a really strong application, we would look at your second and third choices and your language experience and potentially move you to one of those second or third choice programs. If you're applying for the merit and need scholarship, I just want to emphasize that 85% of our scholarships go to language and culture programs. So our donor, that is her passion. She wants students learning another language. And so we've committed 85% of our scholarships to language and culture program. So if you apply for a language and culture program, or if you at least list a language and culture program as your second and third choice, that's going to give you a better chance at getting a scholarship. Any questions that I should go back to so far?
Not yet. Nope.
Okay, awesome. So the CA terms and conditions is one sometimes folks get hung up on. So this is most likely going to be your primary emergency contact. So your legal guardian or your parent is who we want signing the terms and conditions. So you'll open the View CIEE terms and conditions link. As a student, you should be reviewing this with your folks. It's, outlines rules, and our cancellation policy is on here. It's just an important document as you're signing up for the program. But what you'll do is you'll enter the email. If it's of your primary emergency contact, it'll kind of auto-populate the rest of that information once you've put in the email of your primary emergency contact, and then it will send them an email with instructions on how to log into their own emergency contact account and sign your terms and conditions. So this is a task you're going to need help with. So I recommend doing this kind of first on your list to allow your folks time to review and sign those terms and conditions. The task I would recommend leaving till the end to so you're 100% sure you want to apply is the application fee. It's a $25 non-refundable fee. And part of that is just the, covering the time and effort that CI puts into assisting students through the application process, reviewing applications. All of our scholarship applications get sent out to an external review board, and then, we go through a review process. So even if you don't end up traveling, we do put a lot of time and effort into each application, and that fee also helps us to maintain our IT application system. So that fee will be required to complete your application, but again, you can leave it till the end, till you're 100% you're going to apply, because it is non-refundable. CI terms and conditions participant acknowledgement. So after you've sent the terms and conditions to your legal guardian, you'll review that with them, and then you'll type your name, first and last name here, saying that you as a student have also read those terms and conditions and agree to adhere to them. Finally, the Let's Wrap This Up task lets us know how you heard about CIEE. This is also the chance to put in a parent or a sibling alum or yourself. So if you have traveled on a CIEE program before, if a sibling of yours has traveled on a CIEE program, it could be high school, it could be college study abroad. If your parents did a college or high school study abroad program with CIEE, you're eligible for a 10% alumni discount. So you'll fill out that information here. Just yes, if your parent or sibling has traveled, let us know their name, and then the year that they completed their program. You can also designate if you yourself are an alum here as well. And then we do offer a host family discount. So if you have hosted a J1 CIE USA high school student in the past, you can receive a discount. If you are interested in hosting in the future, that's wonderful. The discount, however, does not apply until you have actively hosted a student. And you'll just let us know their name so we can confirm that with our inbound high school team. Any questions there before I move on to the scholarship application? Okay. So also within your program application, the reading section is really important. And this is going to be important throughout your entire time with CIE all the way up until travel. So you can see right now, we have a lot of resources in here for you. This provides a lot more information on these various topics, such as earning college credit, our iNext travel insurance, some tips on fundraising, safety while abroad, flexibility, passport process. So this is really key information. Students will have it, and whomever is that primary emergency contact will have access to this as well. And then as we move on later in the year, we'll add important resources here as well. So this is just a good resource for you. So here, again, your program application, you can see some of the critical pieces such as the deadlines, the price. You can go directly to the website, and you can also go directly to that very first page we looked at, the application support page from here. And then you can also contact CIEE. So if you want to email us, you can do it directly from within your application or this blue email button here. So that's kind of everything you can find on the program side. And then your scholarship application is where we really get into it. So this is probably where you'll spend more of your time in the application process. So there are a few tasks that only apply to the academic merit and financial needs scholarship, these top three. So verify your eligibility. Again, that's just making sure you're a freshman, sophomore, or junior. You haven't received this award before, you're a U.S. citizen or permanent resident. And if you're applying for the academic merit only, you won't see this task. That's totally normal. Then you'll have the financial needs specifics task. So kind of how the application process works is everyone completes their application by January 14th. CIEE sends all of the information minus your financial information to our review panel. So they're just going to see GPA and academics down. So they'll see your GPA, your transcript, your essays, your teacher recommendation. They don't see your finances. And they'll go through and score applications. And then we get those scores back. We look at the top scoring applications, and then we look at finances. So we first know who our list of students receiving a scholarship is, and then we look at finances and we award anywhere from 10% to 100%. So, step one for the scholarship is having a really strong application, having that merit. So for the financial needs specifics, you'll need your family's IRS Form 1040 from 2020. There is a link in here that takes you to the 2020 IRS Form 1040. And if you download it, you'll be able to view all of these text. There's some that's just a little bit hidden right now, but then you can see we walk you through how to complete it. So for household members, you're going to count the number of filing. You'll either be filing single or jointly. So that would be count as 2 people if filing jointly. And then you'll count the number of dependents. And the traveling participant must be listed as a dependent. So if your parents file separately and they trade off claiming you as a dependent from one year to the next, we need the 2020 1040 for whichever parent claimed you as a dependent. It is totally fine to black out social security numbers. We don't need to see that. We just need to see the names of the filing adults and the names of the dependents. The other information you'll plug back into that task on your application is Schedule 1. If you did have anything from Schedule 1, that's additional income. Some folks, this will be 0. That's totally fine. You don't have to do anything. If you did file Schedule 1, you'll upload a copy of that as well. Line 9 will be your total income, and line 11 will be your adjusted gross income. For both of these on the task, please round to the nearest whole dollar. So we don't need 52 cents in there, just round up to the nearest dollar, and you'll just plug in the answers from that 2020 1040 onto this task. So household members, total income, adjusted gross income. Stated family contribution. So here's where we would like to know from you what your family can realistically put towards program tuition. So remember, flights are not included in tuition and they are not covered by your scholarship. So factor that out separately. Depending on where you're going, flights could be anywhere from $1,000 to $1,800 or potentially even $2,000. So think of that separately and then let us know what your family could put towards tuition, and we'll just take that into consideration. But primarily what we're looking at is your total income and the number of household members. And then lastly, we just ask you to verify that yes, you understand flights are not included, and you'll be prepared to cover that flight. Unless you are our one lucky raffle winner, then you are getting that flight for free. Okay, so you'll fill out the financial needs specifics with that information on your 1040, and then you will simply upload a copy of your 1040. So you'll just click upload a document and save it there. Again, you can black out social security numbers. That's totally fine. If you did file Schedule 1, you'll upload that as well, and this will allow you to upload multiple documents. And this is a task that your emergency contact can log into their own account and help you complete, so they could take care of this entirely. We do have an acceptable financial supporting documents for those who did not file taxes or were not required to. We strongly recommend and require the 1040 instead, but in certain circumstances, we will accept something else. It does need to have 2 forms of proof. So what we would ask for would be a free and reduced lunch application with your school, and then a secondary supplemental documentation that shows us the benefits that were received year. So SNAP benefits, welfare benefits, Medicaid, housing assistance, disability payments, and it would need to meet all of these criteria, showing you the traveling student listed as a dependent, the annual summary of the benefits, and that they were received for at least 6 months. Things we can never accept because they don't give us a full financial picture are W-2s, the 1099 independent contractor form, child support paperwork, international tax documents, pay stubs, etc. And if you have questions, this is a good one to email HS Abroad, and we're happy to discuss. But again, always the number one document to provide is the IRS Form 1040. All right. So if you're applying for the academic merit, you won't have those top 3 we just discussed. So you'll start with GPA and academics. So this can be your cumulative GPA from high school. And if you don't have a GPA, if that's not something your school provides, we do have a link here within the application to a GPA calculator that allows you to plug in your grades, B+, A-, etc., and it will compute a GPA for you. So you'll add that here, and then just let us know if you do take any AP honors or college courses, just a quick yes, no.
For the academic section, well, we haven't covered it yet, but we have students asking like how far back we want to see grades.
Yes, yep, I'll cover that on the transcript in just a minute.
Great.
Yes, and if your transcript shows both a weighted and unweighted GPA, please use the weighted one. Yeah, so if you're a freshman this year, and maybe all you have so far is a Q1 report card or a progress report, then what we'd like you to do is to use your grades or in your transcript from 6th through 8th grade and your first quarter of your freshman year. So that's if you're a freshman this year, you can do that. Everyone else, you'll upload a copy of your most recent transcript, and it should show at least the past year. It should really show your transcript, so your full high school grades up to that date. It does not have to be an official transcript. Unofficial is fine. A lot of times, if you can log into your school's portal and print a PDF or take a screenshot of all of your grades with your GPA, that will do as well. The critical pieces we need to see are your name, the school you are attending, the year you will graduate, the current date from those grades, and then of course your course list and the grades you received. And you'll upload a document here. And again, this will allow you to upload multiples. So if you have, that middle school transcript, you can upload that, and you can upload a second document with your freshman progress report for Q1. And just be mindful that these uploads, it does need to be a PDF, a JPEG, or .doc, so like a Word doc file to upload. And again, these instructions are here of exactly what we need to see on that transcript. You'll then have 3 short essays. So we talked a little bit about this at the start. It says 300 to 600 words. So that's typically, 1 to 2 solid paragraphs. It will max out at 4,000 characters. So just keep that in mind if you're writing in a Word doc and then pasting in that you don't want to get cut off and have your sentence end in a weird spot. So just keep that in mind. And then again, just read the question carefully and make sure you're answering it appropriately. And you can drag this down to make it larger so you can see everything, but best to work offline so you can use spell check and all of that, and then input it here when you have your final version. You can save and then keep coming back to it until you're ready to actually submit. So you can keep coming back. Overcoming challenges. This short essay, you'll experience moments outside of your comfort zone in a high school summer abroad program when you will have the opportunity to learn more about yourself and your capabilities. Please describe a moment in your life when you've overcome a challenge that felt particularly meaningful to you. So this is asking for that self-reflection. What did you learn about yourself in that moment? How did it impact what you saw for your future? So this is an example of, there's a couple components, right? We want you to set the scene of what was that challenge that you had? How did it impact you? What did you learn from it? How are you moving forward from it? What did you take away from it? And this is a lot of kind of the reflection you're going to be doing throughout your study abroad experience. There's going to be small or large challenges, you know, throughout the week, throughout the day. So constantly we want to see here, how do you reflect? How do you move through those challenges? So this is a great essay question. It tells us a lot about students. That essay question is a fun one. Strength and participation. How do you spend your time outside of school? This could include sports, extracurricular activities, family commitments, part-time jobs, and more. Please share how many hours per week you spend on each activity or task, how these activities helped you develop your personal strength. So this really gets us to know a little bit about you in addition to your transcript where we can see the classes, but this is where we can learn about your passions, your hobbies, what responsibilities do you have that shape you. So this is a fun one. And again, 1 to 2 short paragraphs is fine. All right, the teacher recommendation is a task I recommend prioritizing within your scholarship application because you're going to rely on your teacher. Teachers are very busy. You want to give them plenty of time. So what you'll do is talk to a teacher beforehand. This should be a teacher who has you a couple times a week in class, has known you hopefully for 6 months or more. If you're a freshman and it's a teacher you've just started having freshman year, that's totally fine. Choose a teacher who you have a couple times a week, someone who knows you well, and someone who can provide, you know, some insight to us on your flexibility, how you participate in the class, how they think you would do in a study abroad experience. So someone who knows you well. You'll provide their email address. I recommend, if they're comfortable with it, ask your teacher, you know, tell them a little bit about your study abroad application, what the program is, why you're applying, what your goals are. That will help them with their recommendation. And then ask if they are okay with using their personal email, because we find that a lot of school addresses like a .edu tend to block our emails. They have really strict firewalls. So a Gmail, a Yahoo is more likely to get to them. But if they're not comfortable and they want to use their school email, that's totally fine too. Just be very careful that you are typing their email correctly. So we're actually going to ask you to input it twice and just double check your spelling, because it will send an email to whomever you have listed here. You'll provide their first name, last name, and then choose your school from the drop down. And this will send your teacher an email. So let them know that they should look out for an email that ends in @ciee.org. They may need to check their spam or junk folder, but it will give them instructions to log into their own MyCIE account, and they'll complete the recommendation online. If your teacher does have any issues finding that email, any issues submitting the recommendation, they can always email hsabroad@ca.org, and we're happy to help them troubleshoot. And then make sure to check in with your teacher and ask them, have they submitted it? Make sure they get that done by the January 14th deadline, and show your appreciation and thanks for them for providing that recommendation. It's good insight for us to have. Program choices. So this is where, if your top choice program is full, unfortunately, Japan, our most popular program, we can't send all 500 of you who might want to go to Japan in a given year to Kyoto. So we do have to move students around. But if you're a really strong applicant, we think you're a great fit for the program, we want you to have the study abroad experience, we'll come here and we'll look at your second and third choice programs and potentially move you to one of those. So do your research, pick programs that you would actually be excited about if you were awarded a scholarship to one of those programs, and do not pick the same program 3 times. If you say Japan, 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 you haven't given us a lot of options. So if you put Japan, Yucatan, Seville, now we're talking. Okay, now we have some options. You're much more likely to get a scholarship. And again, 85% of our funding goes to language and culture. So putting language and culture programs is a great way to increase your odds of getting a scholarship. And that is the application. That was a lot of information. So what would be helpful to go back over in more detail?
I have a question. So you mentioned that 85% of your scholarship money goes to language immersion programs.
Mhm.
But if you're applying for a program that's not language immersion, but you want to put a language immersion one as one of your top 3, would you sorry,
like third?
Yeah, like third, but you want to go to like a topic focused program first, will it prioritize that language immersion program instead of the one that you put first? Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. It really kind of depends on how the applications shake out as a whole. So the volume of applications we receive, where students are most interested in going, what their scores are. And then how quickly we, award the maximum amount we can to those non-language programs. So we kind of look at it holistically it's a very complicated process. But if you're really passionate about the topic, apply to the topic. You can talk in your essays about why that is a passion of yours, and then list a language and culture program as a second or third choice to give your application that boost, that chance.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, but we always award to the topic programs as well every year.
Also,
Hi, I have a question. Oh, sorry.
it's okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
Get the application done by December 1st. Does that increase like our chances of getting it like looked at first and getting a higher like acceptance rate for the scholarship, or is it the same as January 14th?
Yeah, same as January 14th. So December 1st, we'll still wait and score all of those applications after the January 15th deadline. But the December 1 cutoff is the cutoff for the raffle to win a free flight. And then you can also enjoy your holiday break because your application's done. So that's a plus as well, but it doesn't really give you an advantage in the process.
So like, let's say we complete the application by December 1st, but we fully like do all the readings by January 14th. Is that like a good plan?
Yeah, that would be great. Okay. Yeah, you can still, reach out to, even after you finish your application, if questions come up, always reach out. We know questions come up as you move through different stages of the process. So by all means, even if you've completed your application, but a question comes to mind, comes to your parents' mind, still reach out.
Okay.
Okay. I had a question about the holistic review. So I was just wondering if we submit a transcript and our transcript isn't necessarily like the strongest, but our essays are really good, do we still have a good chance in getting into the program we applied for, other programs, or is it heavily like focused on looking on our grades and transcripts?
So I'd say it's an even split between your essays, your transcript, and your teacher recommendations. So we do look at the application holistically. It is a pretty competitive application. So I'd say most of our successful students have a GPA of 3.0 or higher, but if you're on that cusp or you're just below it, it doesn't mean you couldn't get a scholarship. I definitely still encourage you to apply, because we'll look at those essays and teacher recommendation as well. And sometimes there's a story there of, why you had a bad semester, what you did to turn it around. So that's, yeah, I would encourage everyone to still apply.
There's a question in the chat box. When writing your essays for the scholarship, do you talk about the first choice program that you're applying to, or all of them?
You can focus it on the first choice program that you're applying to. That's fine. Yeah. And the review board is kind of looking for, how do you answer the questions? What's kind of your goals for the program? So they're not so much thinking that, okay, this person really knew what they were talking about for Rabat, but it wouldn't make sense if they went somewhere else. They're not thinking about that. They're thinking about how you answer the questions, what your form is, how you communicate your story. So you could be really specific to your program, or you could keep it more general.
Couple questions about teacher recommendations. First of all, are they due December 1st if the student wants to be in the running for free airfare?
Yes, they are due December 1st. Absolutely everything due December 1st for the airfare.
And another question, how will students know if their teacher has completed their recommendation?
Yeah, so once you've input your teacher's information, you'll see a box down here below your to-do list that will say tasks others submit. And it'll have the teacher recommendation listed there. And then once your teacher submitted it, it'll move out of that list. You can also ask them as well. It's similar on your program application. Once you've sent your terms and conditions, you will see a new section, tasks that others complete, and the CA terms and conditions will be down there until your legal guardian signed it, and then it'll move over to the right. You'll have a tasks completed list as you work through tasks.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Any other questions or topics?
Lots of great questions here tonight.
Again? Yeah. Yeah, I can tell folks are really, have started really working and thinking about this, which is awesome.
So
yeah, go ahead.
In the course of this webinar, I'm the dad. I received an email that said, your teen just opened a summer study abroad application. And then it says, we're thrilled that Tom, that's me, not my teen, opened an application. So have we made some sort of error?
Yeah, it sounds like maybe you opened the application maybe with your email or under your name. So if you want to forward that to hsabroad@cia.org and just clarify like student full name, student email, parent name, parent email, we can fix it on our end.
Thank you.
I had a question about, so if my daughter applies for a topic program and then the language as her second choice, but she doesn't get enough scholarship for the first program, but she would get more for the language. I'm concerned about the scholarship.
Yeah, so the amount of scholarship wouldn't really change based off of the program type. So our awards are always a percent of tuition. So 10%, 50%, 80%, always a percent of tuition. And if you're placed on Seville with a 50% scholarship, it'll be 50% from the Seville tuition. If you're placed on the theater arts program in London, it'll be, the same 50%. We don't give you less money to go to a non-language program.
I see.
Does that explanation make sense? Okay.
Yes, it does. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, you're welcome.
And for the vaccination part, you guys mentioned you don't have to have the vaccine done at the second that we turn in the application, but on the application it asks for proof of vaccination. So would we leave that blank, and will it allow us to submit it even though that section is not filled out?
Yes, it'll still allow you to submit the application, even if you can't yet complete the vaccination type and proof of vaccination. So you'll be able to still complete everything else. And then we'll just look for those 2 tasks to be completed by April 15th is kind of our key date for the pre-departure tasks. And once you've been accepted onto the program and you're, you've paid your deposit, you're committed and you're fully enrolled, we start a whole pre-departure process with a lot of information. There'll be new tasks for you to complete to get ready. And we'll call out, okay, if you haven't yet, upload your proof of vaccination, your copy of your passport, a health form, all of that. So we'll help send out those reminders as well.
Also, because I'm applying for the Morocco part, so is it easier to get into that one? Because I know most people are interested in like Japan or Paris.
It gives you a great chance if you're not applying for the most popular program. But again, we also are first looking at really overall quality of your application. But Morocco is an amazing program. I think that's a fantastic choice.
There's a question here. If someone applies for the scholarship and they can only go if they get the scholarship, do they have to turn in the application, or would they cancel if they don't get awarded?
Okay, yeah, so I can kind of talk through the process after January 14th. So just by applying, you're not committing to travel yet. So you're applying by January 14th. And that's saying, you're interested, you really want to go if you get the scholarship, but you're not fully committed to travel yet. So we need a couple weeks to review all of the applications and do our scholarship awarding. So probably mid to late February, we would reach out to you and we would let you know if you were accepted to the program and the scholarship award amount. So we'll give you the dollar amount of your scholarship, the tuition for your program, what your remaining balance is. And then at that time, you'll have about 10 days to talk it over as a family and decide, yes, we're definitely going to sign up. We're going, we're ready to pay our acceptance deposit and fully commit. Or you could decide the scholarship amount wasn't what you needed, or something else came up for this summer. It's just not going to work out. You're not feeling ready. Maybe you're a freshman, you want to try again next year. That's totally fine. You just need to let us know that you're declining the scholarship. And that's fine. You're welcome to apply in the future as long as you communicate that you're declining and not joining us. If you are not accepted onto the program and do not receive a scholarship, we'll let you know that as well. And if you are still wanting to travel and you can travel without a scholarship, you'll still have a chance to enroll in programs where we have space left. So mid to late February, again, is when we'll let you know your decision. You'll hear about your acceptance to the program and your scholarship amount at the same time. And then you'll have about 10 days, so kind of into early March, to talk it over and make that final decision as a family.
I had a question about how much time you had to pay. Like as soon as we're accepted, is that like the due date for us to give the money, or do we have some time to fundraise the money?
Yes, great question. Yeah, so if you're thinking you might want to fundraise for part of your flight or part of your program, I definitely encourage you to start fundraising now, especially with the holidays coming, right? You can kind of center that around your fundraising activities. And we do have some great fundraising resources, again, in that reading section. But once you're accepted onto the program, again, mid to late February, you'll have 10 days to pay your acceptance deposit portion. So if your scholarship, you have a remaining balance of $1,000 or more, your acceptance will be $1,000. If you have a 190%, 95% scholarship, for example, and your total remaining balance is $500, we'll just keep it simple. That's what would be due that $500 remaining balance as your deposit within 10 days of being accepted. And then final balances aren't due until April 14th. So say you got a $2,000 scholarship on Seville, you'll pay $1,000 within 10 days, and then your remaining balance, which would be about $3,000, that's not going to be due until April 15th. So you'll still have some time between paying your acceptance deposit and that final payment to fundraise.
And how many people get awarded scholarships?
Great question. So the $5.4 million usually supports about 1,200 students. Depending on the year, I would say it's about 60 to 70% of students who apply receive some amount of funding.
Great.
Yeah, so you definitely have a good chance.
And if a student doesn't want to apply for a scholarship, they plan to pay in full, is the process any different?
Yeah, the process is a little bit different. So for folks not applying for a scholarship, we do review and accept applications on a rolling basis because we don't have a scholarship application to wait and review on January 14th. So if you are selecting no, I want to enroll now and pay in full, once you've completed the rest of your program application, you won't see this scholarship section. But once you've completed this, CA usually needs 1 to 2 weeks to review your application. And then we'll reach out to let you know if you're accepted to the program. And that would start your 10 days for your $1,000 deposit to commit to the program. And then again, your remaining balance isn't due until April 15th.
I have a question.
Sure.
I'm pretty far in French, and I was wondering, do I apply for like the basic just language program, or could I apply for all three?
So you definitely only want to do one application, and then you'll use
Okay.
your second and third choices if you wanted to apply, for the advanced. If you're really passionate about French, I would definitely recommend, picking your top location, and then you can choose the other French language and culture programs for your second and third choices. And what we'll do, all students before traveling will take, it's called a stamp language assessment. You'll take that online. And we use that to break you up into smaller classrooms. So your classroom abroad will be about 15 or fewer students. And you'll be in the level 1, level 2, level 3 for French. So we will put you with a group of peers who are at a similar level, so you're challenged the right amount. And in our languages other than Spanish and French, we also offer level 0. So folks who have never taken German before will be with other folks who have never taken German. And then those who have a couple years under their belt might be in that level 1 or level 2.
And is the test written, oral, or both?
It's both. It's administered online. So nothing you need to worry about yet. We'll give you all the instructions on how to complete that test, probably starting in like March or April. But it's something you'll take online. It generally takes 1 to 2 hours, and you'll take it again at the end of your program, which is really cool. So then the end of your program, you'll be able to see what was your stamp test score before you started the program and what was your score after, so you can see that growth.
Okay, thank you so much.
Yeah, you're welcome.
I had a question. How often is it for a student to receive a full scholarship?
Yeah, so whether you receive a full scholarship, 50%, 20%, that's going to depend entirely on the financial information provided on your IRS form 1040. So it just depends, on your individual family's finances. And we try our best to support students with the amount that is needed to make study abroad possible for them. So it's hard to give a, exact percent, because the amount you get is it's not related to your score of your application. It's just to your family's finances.
Okay, I had one more question.
Mhm.
Last year I received an NX, and what if I'm not able to like recover it by January? Will that stop me from being accepted into the program?
I missed that last year where you received what that would maybe prevent you. I missed that part. I'm sorry.
I received an NX.
I'm not familiar. Oh, for school, you mean in your
Yeah.
transcript?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so upload, the transcripts that you have so far from your high school career, and then your Q1 report card. So between now and January 14th, most schools, I think you'll probably get that Q1 report card. So upload that
Okay.
in
thank you.
addition to your prior years. Yeah, you're welcome.
Can, like, let's say if you apply for both scholarships, the in need and the merit, are you able to get like accepted for both of them or just one?
Only one. So you can only submit one scholarship application per year. And you don't increase your chances by applying twice, because we'll just disregard your second application. We'll only review one.
No, I mean like if you could apply for both of the scholarships, because I know there's just two types.
Yeah, so really, so you'll only apply to one, and really the difference is if your family's finances, if the situation is that you don't need financial support to travel, but it would be nice to have a 10% scholarship, you want the experience of applying for a competitive scholarship. That looks great on college applications, right? To say you applied and received a competitive scholarship, but you don't need significant financial support, then I would encourage you to apply for the Academic Merit Scholarship. That's this one. I'm applying for academic merit only. That covers 10%. If your family is going to need more substantial assistance for you to be able to travel, then, and you're eligible, then just apply for the financial need.
Okay.
All right. These are really great questions. We're running a little bit long, but I'm happy to stay on for a minute more if anyone has any final questions before we wrap up.
I had a question about the teacher recommendation portion of it.
Sure.
Do you recommend that we ask multiple teachers for a teacher recommendation? Can we submit multiple recommendations?
You only need one. So the system will actually only allow you to submit one teacher recommendation. So just choose a teacher who knows you well and is committed to submitting it by the deadline, but no need to get more than one recommendation.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
And going off that question, could you do it with your language teacher as well?
Yeah, so if you're applying for a language and culture program, that language teacher you have this year is often a great person to recommend, because it's easy for them to give that feedback and project into how would you be doing, with your Spanish skills in Barcelona. So that's a great option.
Thank you.
It doesn't have to be your language teacher, but that's a great option. All right. Anything else, Melissa, that you're seeing in the chat that we should cover more before we wrap up?
We have covered everything that's in the chat.
All right. Awesome. Thank you for taking care of that chat. Great. Well, thank you everyone for your great questions. I can tell we're going to have some really strong applications just by how thoughtful you all are, and you're starting this application process early, which is fantastic. So definitely, reach back out. You have our contact info, you have those resources, and we're here to help you through the process.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you. Best of luck completing everything, and have a happy Thanksgiving.
Good night. Thanks.
Night.